Yeah.
I remember compared to basketball, tennis was really frustrating for me.
Why do you think tennis is more frustrating compared to basketball? What do you think are the main challenges when someone starts to play tennis that is more difficult compared to other sports? Why do you think it's a bit more challenging at the beginning? People think that it's a hard sport. For someone that is starting to play tennis, do you have any tips on, for example, any tips at the beginning that what this beginner player should focus on mainly so they would have a smoother learning process? So, Sebastian, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks so much.
It's a pleasure having you here, man. We're here in the tennis court here in Hürde Club, unser Lieblingsverein.
Klar.
Yeah. And just before you went to, where are you going now? To Barcelona?
Barcelona, yeah.
Yeah. And then we were like, okay, let's make the most out of it and record another episode and talk about tennis stuff now.
Yeah.
Now it's time for tennis.
Great chance. Thanks for having me.
So, for the people that don't know, please give a short introduction about yourself and say how you got familiar with tennis, what made you start, and what was the beginning journey for you in tennis?
Yeah. I first got in touch with tennis actually at a fairly young age. So I did play tennis for, I'm not sure to be honest how long, but let's say for 1.5, 2 years when I was younger. And so I played earlier, had some like summer camps when I was little.
How old were you when you started?
I'm not sure. It might have been like 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm not sure exactly.
Approximately.
Yeah, but I remember I never had a proper racket. So I only played with like the smaller rackets. I never had. Maybe I was even younger than that because I never had a full size racket. So it was like that young.
Okay.
Maybe it's younger. I'm not sure, but.
Okay, and how did it go from then? Did you keep on continuing? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I remember back then, already at that age, I was like ambitious. I remember I played some club tournament.
Yeah.
I always got beat by people that trained more often. I only played once a week and never played more than that training session. And also at the time I played basketball as well.
Yeah.
I remember compared to basketball, tennis was really frustrating for me.
Why do you think tennis is more frustrating compared to basketball?
I think if you compare tennis to basketball, so first of all, when you play basketball, there are 4 other people on the court, then you can blame it on if you lose.
Yeah.
In tennis, it's really just you.
Yeah.
So that's first.
It's all you.
It's just you, yeah. And second of all, basketball is less technical than tennis. So of course there's technique in basketball as well. You need to learn how to dribble, you need to learn how to pass, you need to understand the game. Maybe you remember plays. But in tennis, there's really a much higher barrier for you simply just to play with one another. Like, I'm not even saying against one another, but just keeping the ball in play is a challenge when you first start out, especially at a young age, I feel like.
What do you think are the main challenges when someone starts to play tennis that is more difficult compared to other sports? Why do you think it's a bit more challenging at the beginning? People think that it's a hard sport.
I think first of all, it's maybe if you think about soccer or basketball, I think the movements are a bit more intuitive. At least basketball, I mean, it's just holding something in your hand.
And just bouncing
right. And you're also touching the ball. In tennis, you're not touching the ball. In soccer, you're also please excuse I say soccer. I'm going to keep saying soccer, but there's no way I
think only you have a dirty mind a little bit, but...
People are going to understand. Also in soccer, you're kind of touching the ball directly.
The feel is
direct. Yeah, you get instant feedback.
Exactly.
And then with tennis, you have another object that actually touches the ball. So it's not directly connected to your body. And
one moment. One wind. It's windy a little bit here out in Germany. The weather, we're supposed to be having a sunny day today, but as you can see, there is not so much sun here, and we have to make the most out of it in the middle of summer, but the weather is not looking so much like summer, so excuse us.
Yeah, so I think it's just the fact that it's not very transferable. So most people, when they start playing tennis, they've never done anything unless you've played with another racket sport. It's just not very intuitive. So that's the first thing. You're not in contact with the ball. I think that's hard.
Yeah.
And then second of all, as I just said, I don't think it's intuitive in the sense that when people think of tennis, when they see it, they think you hit the tennis ball from down to up.
Yeah.
In order to get this typical like
motion
shape of the ball, they see the ball flying in a circular motion. Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, I need to hit it from down to up.
Exactly.
They usually hit it with a very open racket.
Open racket, exactly. Like badminton.
Yeah, like badminton maybe.
Badminton is more intuitive.
Badminton is more intuitive because it doesn't have the spin element.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the ball doesn't travel a lot. Like when you hit the ball,
Yeah.
it's like maximum it goes 6-7 meters, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
10 meters.
yeah.
But if you
Something
hit a
like that.
tennis ball really hard, it's gonna go somewhere.
Yeah, it's gonna go.
It's gonna bounce really hard. It's from rubber. Yeah, you're right. So basically, first the person has to get a connection with the racket,
Right.
and then the racket with the ball, and to connect them all together to get a feeling of how to connect them all together compared to basketball or football. That it's just more intuitive, and you can just either shoot the ball with your leg, kick the ball, or just throw the ball.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And also, I think like many sports have more of a physical element. I mean, at the elite level, tennis is extremely physical.
Yeah.
But at the beginner level, usually the physical aspect is not the issue because the ball is not in play for as long.
Exactly.
So when you play soccer, it's a physical sport. You can like push other people.
Yeah.
You do a lot of running, a lot of sprinting.
Sprints,
and the ball is, most of the time, the ball is in play.
Exactly.
In tennis, you have more breaks when serving, when changing sides. There are breaks all in between.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think that's another reason. So you can't just win tennis by being fit. You actually need to learn the technique.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, first question. We talked about you started early, but what made you start playing tennis?
So I think at the young age, I think my parents just signed me up for a tennis club.
Yeah.
So I don't remember at least consciously saying, hey, I want to play tennis.
Yeah. Did they have any tennis background themselves?
My mom had none. And my dad played a little tennis during his university times.
Yeah.
But he was never an actual club player, never learned it from child's age. So
okay. So you don't think there was a special reason that they wanted?
No,
just
no special
it's
reason.
a sport, just go and try.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, I know I kind of had it in my blood, basically. My dad, in his college years, he used to play tennis. And then my brother started playing tennis, and he took me to tennis. And in his trainings, I was 10 years old, 11. Then I picked up a racket, started playing. He didn't continue. I continued playing on tennis, and now we're here.
Interesting.
16 years later. What?
You've been playing 16 years consistently?
No, but from the moment I started.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, technically consistently, but not in a professional level.
Yeah.
Until I was 13, 14, no. And then it got a bit more professional. For someone that is starting to play tennis, do you have any tips on, for example, any tips at the beginning that what this beginner player should focus on mainly so they would have a smoother learning process? Do you have anything in your mind, and you can take your time and think about it?
If you don't mind, I'll quickly just add that I only played for like little time when I was younger, maybe 2 years, only with small racket, never learned how to serve, never learned how to properly play backhand or anything like that, at least not that I remember. And I properly started playing again about 3 years ago. Yeah. So I don't feel qualified to answer everything with a professional background that you have.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just my experience. So
yeah, just tell it from your own perspective
right.
and what you feel from your own point of view.
Right. I think for a beginner, one thing that's very important is expectation management.
Oh, yes.
So you shouldn't start playing tennis.
Yeah.
If I start playing tennis, I'll immediately be able to like hold a rally with a friend of mine who's also never played tennis. Yeah. So that's not going to happen. So it's easiest to play with someone that has experience, that can help you keep the ball in play.
Yeah.
And I would really recommend to just take a few introductory tennis lessons and then see how you like it. Yeah. Because if you just start on your own, you might get frustrated. You might not know what you're doing wrong. You might just repeat the same mistakes. You might just hit the ball over the net, over the fence, God knows. It's easier to just get a few introductory lessons, have someone show you the basics, and then you can decide if you want to continue or try it on your own.
Exactly. If I want to add something to that, at the beginning, it's very important. You don't need to necessarily have a coach for the rest of your life, but at least until you learn the basics, it would really make the process more enjoyable and smoother.
Yeah.
And then after you learn the basics of forehand, backhand, serve, and all the fundamentals of how to rally, then after that, then you're on a good path and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Say throughout your whole player career, name two of your favorite coaches and say why they were your favorite coaches in your point of view. You have to name two. And you don't have to even think about, okay, I have to say something good about Mazi here.
No, actually, it's quite easy because, as I said, I don't remember many of my lessons when I was younger.
Yeah.
I remember my coach when I was younger did not have a great image, so people didn't think much of the coach. I'm not going to say the name, but they didn't think much of the coach, most people, because it was just like fun training, but there was no attention to technique. It was just like rallying and just like kids tennis and just play and have fun. So I don't feel like, even though this might be false, but I feel like there's not much I took from that, except for maybe get some feel for how a ball flies. But I mean, that is like 15 years in between first time playing and second time playing. And then the coach I had after that, her name is Aliana. And she taught me, the first time she taught me backhand. I was never able to play backhand. So when I picked up a racket and wanted to play in between, as I said, didn't play in a club, but I was never able to play backhand. And she taught me backhand, and I felt immediate improvement. So she was definitely coach number 2. And you're coach number 1. Honestly. So I haven't had many coaches, not to discredit you, but to be fair, I didn't have many coaches. Ariana's number 2. I've had training with her for maybe 1.5 years. But I loved your training. I remember first time I saw you. It was way more athletically challenging. It was very, very intense, which I liked. There was attention to technique. And I think you brought some really refreshing points to the training.
Das freut mich zu hören. Das freut mich zu hören. Yeah, very happy to hear that, really. Yeah, thank you. I don't know why. Ciao, Sabine, we see us. When? Monday. Schönes Wochenende. So, Sabine, one of my favorite people of the club. She's such a nice character. She's such a bomb of energy every time. Really, really. Like, every time that I see her, I honestly, like, she brings a smile and a vibe and an energy, you know?
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
And she has one of those cute laughs that when she laughs, you also want to laugh.
It's like contagious, like Corona.
It's contagious.